Welcome to week 4 of GE3510 Macroeconomics. Remember that the contact information is up top with the name, email address, and phone number. Best way to contact, generally by email, listing a few times that we can then meet by phone and or screen share software. Scrolling down to the current week, we are in week 4. We have the familiar layout, we have the objectives, the topics, and the lessons. We will be covering 2 chapters, those being 4 and 18, covering elasticity and economic growth, respectively. Note that elasticity, like most of the weeks we have had here, is a topic that is applicable to all of economics, both micro and macro, while economic growth is a macroeconomic topic. Elasticity has to do with how sensitive the market is to price changes. It's going to be very important to know elasticity when we are discussing different components within an economy, because the outcomes or policies from a macroeconomic level or policy or price policies from a microeconomic level will depend a lot on the elasticity of what we are talking about within a market. Economic growth will, of course, be a macroeconomic topic. And we will once again be returning to GDP when we discuss economic growth as one of the indicators, GDP per capita, and discuss the components, what contributes to economic growth and what is good economic growth. We might be discussing economic growth whenever you turn on the news and there's a political debate. Economic growth is probably a huge component, or it should be if it's not being discussed. Economic growth is a big component. Notice you might be hearing relatively small numbers in economic growth, like 2% growth for the U.S. economy, as being really pretty good over a long period of time. And that's a question we kind of got to understand when looking at these types of debates. We got to say, okay, what is a good economic growth? When thinking about the economic growth of the U.S. versus other countries, why is 2% pretty good for the U.S.? Why would something a much higher percent might be more expected for some developing countries, and what type of factors would contribute to economic growth? And that goes back to economic type policies. Remember that everything from the discussion forum on down, that's what we need to get done. Discussion forums are worth 21% of the grade. Huge piece of the grade, want to pick up 100% of that 21%. This is not the place to be just getting by. This is the place to be pulling up your grade by getting as many points as possible, so that we can pull up the grade in any other area where we have less control, such as the quizzes and exams. How to do that? At least 4 posts. That is, however, the minimum. And really, to get up to full credit, you want to post more than 4 times to make sure you're getting up to full credit here. Any posts can only add points. It could have 0 points, but it can't really take away points. Therefore, more posts would be better than fewer posts most of the time, but it does need to add economic and new economic material to the discussion in order to generate more points. If you copy and paste anything, that's okay, but just make sure that you reference it and do not plagiarize. And also, to get full credit on a post like that, we would want to discuss or reiterate what has been copied and pasted, and or discuss whether or not we agree with it. Remember, we are talking about highly debated areas when we talk about things like economic growth. What is a good economic growth? What will lead to economic growth? Make sure that when we make discussion on that, that we are using economic tools in order to get to the end result. That's the goal here. There could be disagreements. That's fine. But we all want to use the kind of science of economics, the social science of economics, the tools of economics, in order to have the debate. Then we have the assignments, the homework, and the quizzes. And most of this will be in McGraw-Hill's Connect, but although most of it is in McGraw-Hill's Connect, it's not all listed in McGraw-Hill's Connect, and although most of it will not be done here in Moodle Rooms, it is all listed here in Moodle Rooms, and therefore this is your check sheet. Make sure you're checking everything off here in Moodle Rooms. Don't miss anything, especially these homeworks, where a lot of times they are not in, they haven't been in Moodle Rooms a lot of the time, and so don't miss that. Make sure you're going in here, checking everything off, and picking everything up. Then we have the quiz. Remember that the quiz and everything is due by Sunday. But the quiz, we have less leeway for late work, and therefore you want to make sure to get it done by the end, by Sunday. And 5 points is better than 0 points on the quiz. So if you run into a time constraint, take the quiz. If you have to go back to assignments and homework for late work, then we have a little bit more leeway for many of those to do so. Just note that you could lose points for late work and will lose points in accordance with charter college policy for any late work. Up top, we have the gradebook. Up here, left-hand side, green icon. Remember that I have all grades are due from you, from the students, until by Sunday of each week. I have until Wednesday to enter the grades. I try to get them in Tuesday around noon. Therefore, Tuesday around noon, check the gradebook. Make sure that it's updated in accordance with what you know it should be, given the fact that you are checking everything off in Moodle Rooms, making sure that you're getting everything done within Moodle Rooms. And let me know if there are any questions. If anything changes from a dash to a 0 once graded, that's an indication it has not yet been done. You want to see if you can go in there and pick it up for late work, and if you can, pick it up for late work, knowing that you could lose points and will lose points for late work in accordance with charter college policy. That's going to be it for week 4, so have a great week 4.